Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for CEO Exclusive, brought to you by Anona Enterprises.
Good morning and welcome to CEO Exclusive, where we get emerging trends from CEOs and their most trusted advisors. I'm your host, Sohini Koch. So I'm really excited. I have somebody on the show that I've been trying to get on the show for years. Really excited. They're an Inc. 5000 awardee and also a nominee for a couple other awards, a really, really great firm, the Modo Modo Agency. And so I have their CEO, Moira.
Good morning.
Yeah. And their Director of Account Service, Jennifer Close. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Good morning.
So, Moira, tell us what you think our mid-market CEOs need to know, that's happening in the world of digital marketing, from your perspective.
Yep. So one of the things that we're seeing currently is a return to brand story. So there's a lot of that. All CEOs are trying to align their organization. They're trying to get better performance. Everybody's crazy about all the data that they have, but there are a lot of fundamental underlying things that still need to be fixed around what is truly special about what they do and how they communicate that. And so for us, the most logical, data-driven people have come back around to, okay, we've set up an infrastructure, we have all these partners, we have all this stuff that we do, but I don't think we have the story right. And it's not the story of them, it's the story of them with their customer, right? The story of their customer, the voice of their customer, conveyed, their value proposition. And so almost every client I think that we have right now, that is what we're working on with them.
It's interesting because Thrive Coffee, that we had on the show a few months ago, was talking about how that story needs to be really authentic. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, how do you get the CEOs to see that story as a thread that runs all across the marketing? Mm-hmm. And actually, even before you get to the stage where you're pushing it out into various channels, mm-hmm. that it ties into the bigger picture of what the company's trying to accomplish in their strategy and their operations, and runs through the entire business.
Yep. And I'm interested in what Close would have to say. Jennifer Close, but we still call her Close, would have to say about this. But I don't think you can get a CEO to understand that. I think that you have two kinds of CEOs. You get CEOs that are focused on the numbers and the quarter and the short-termism and the quarterly board review and the investor call. And some of those people are also very focused on authentic story, but it's just one of many points. And then you seem to have CEOs that understand fundamentally, if we don't know where we're positioned and we can't say it in a compelling way, we should not be doing anything, right? We need to get there first. And so the first thing we make sure when we're working with our clients or doing prospecting and trying to understand who is this company and what kind of partnership do they want, we try to figure out, is leadership minded where they think this is already important? Because if they don't, we're not going to convert them, right? Mm-hmm. And that's an uphill battle. What we really want to do are find the people that likely already have wonderful stories and all kinds of leadership or thought leadership or dominant market positions, but they are not properly telling that story and, sort of helping them, tell the best kept secret.
Yeah, Jennifer, please go ahead. Share your thoughts.
Yeah, I would really just amplify what Moira was saying, where I think the times that we see the greatest success of really culling out that interesting story of a brand is when leadership is truly bought in, because mm-hmm. it cannot come from marketing. For it to be authentic and for it to be adopted across the organization, it has to come from leadership. And leadership has to believe in what it really is and what it enables the organization to do. Because again, it's not just marketing who's pushing it out there. It's sales who's on the ground with the customer in these conversations and having to be the ones to relay it as well.
And customer service.
And customer service, operations.
Touch point. Yeah.
Yeah. And HR, because again, there's all the conversation around being a great employer brand and what that looks like. And at the end of the day, it all ties back into what is your story as an organization, because who you are internally is who you are externally.
Well, here's one thing that I love about the show is, Moira, you're also, a mid-market CEO. So you're an advisor, but you're also CEO. So what is your story? And, how are you doing what you say that you want your CEOs to do?
Well, I feel like our story, and we just, we've been in business 11 years. And so, a lot of people go into a room and try to reinvent who they are. And we just keep coming back to who we've said we were all along, which is we don't think like agency people. We think like business people. Our story is about understanding what businesses want to do, need to do, can do in the market, helping them uncover that, and then using marketing to help them do that, to help them find the way to get their message out. And, I say the way because Modo means the way, right? We're helping them find the way. And it's no more complicated than that. We have looked at, a lot of people say all agencies say the same thing. We all do these, intangible creative services, right? People get in a room, they come up with great ideas, they turn it into things that are pretty and sound good. Yes, that is fundamentally what agencies do, but we feel where we really excel is getting leadership, and it could be, mid-level, it's not just, hey, we met with the CEO and now we're going to shove this all down through the organization. It's getting the true decision makers to get comfortable enough with you to share what's working and what's not, so that you can come up with a real position that's grounded in reality. And a lot of that for us also is bringing that voice of the customer in. We end up doing a tremendous amount of business to business and complex organizational communication. And whenever you already are predisposed to think we're in a complex marketplace or our product is so difficult, you just get all caught up in all these details, and you can't simply look at it. And so a lot of what we do is help them simplify and find, that nugget right there, that one's really important. Now, we can't say all 800 of these things, but man, can we really focus on that one? So a lot of it too is helping them frame their focus or find the spots where there are gaps in alignment so that they can better tell the story.
Right. And so to follow this thread, how do you weave that into your position, your marketing? I know that you write for Forbes. How does all of that get woven in?
Well, I think how it gets woven in, and one of the things that we talk about internally, you talk about an employer brand, is we're not these cool agency kids, and we don't go and hang out with all the agency owners and creative people and talk creative all the time. We go and get with business people, right? So if our idea at the core is that we understand business, when we do book club, we don't read about the new concepting techniques, although in the creative department, they do that just as a function of being good at what they do. But we're reading business books. We're reading best practices. We're out in the community being with business people. Even my subject area that I write about in Forbes is not about marketing. It's about how entrepreneurs raise capital and manage money. So, we're just not we understand that the world of marketing is drawing on a bigger idea. It doesn't start with and end with marketing. It starts and ends with what the business needs to do. And then, we bring it all to bear.
And Jennifer, I would love to hear your thoughts about how you're seeing Modo actually weave its story through, the serving of accounts and how it represents itself outside, and how, you as a really long-term employee are experiencing that story for yourself.
Yeah. So, I joined Modo 9 years ago, and it's been really consistent the entire time I've been there.
As an intern, right?
Yes, I started as an intern and have kind of grown through that account service rank. And
she didn't join; she made us get
did.
her on board. So.
I did. I forced them to hire me. However, and
we're thrilled that she did.
I could see. Yeah.
It has been a wonderful experience, and I think one thing that has been really consistent is about our approach. And that idea of thinking like business people just rings so true to so many of our clients. And as we continue to bring in new account managers and talk to them about what that means for us and what that means in terms of how we serve our accounts, it encourages them to go beyond the ask, which is kind of like this rallying cry that we have right now.
What does that mean?
Going beyond the ask. So it's very easy to come to an agency and say, I need a brochure. I need a website, right? Or, and so what we encourage our team to say,
or fix this thing,
or design this thing, or make it look pretty,
or help us figure out what to say.
Right. So we encourage our team to say, I hear what you're asking for, but what is the why behind what you need that? What are you trying to do as a business that makes you think that you need this thing. Or it could be, we hear you need it like this. We think it should be bigger or a little bit positioned differently, or, something along those lines. And so it's not just taking things for face value when they come into the agency. It's really digging in and understanding what it is that our client is trying to achieve and then serving them in that manner. So which means that oftentimes we are advocates and we are challengers at the same time for our clients.
And I'll just say, you'd asked how do we weave that through? I mean, an example of that is if you're going in to talk to a prospective client, often they'll say, so tell us about how you approach digital marketing strategy and creative, and show us some of your digital marketing strategy and creative, and tell us how long that takes to do that and what's your process and what's it cost, right?
Yeah. And then what's the ROI?
Right. And then what's the ROI? And so we go in and we say, we understand you want a capabilities presentation. All these people trust us. Here's the stuff we do. We can do all that stuff. We'll show you some pretty stuff in a minute. We understand this to be where you are in the world right now. And we see this competitive pressure, and we understand that your competitors are doing this. And since you appear to be focused specifically digitally on the conversation, this is what your competitors are doing digitally, and here's where your opportunity is. And so the conversation is about how they are fitting in the world and winning or failing, and our understanding of that. And then we can talk about creative all day long, right?
So this is fascinating. So you're talking about marketing in like the biggest, broadest sense of like, this is where you are in the demand cycle.
Correct.
Or in the broadest sense of the market period.
Totally.
And then you bring your toolkit to bear on that.
Yep.
Yes. And so, like Harvard talks about, big I innovation versus little innovation. That big I innovation is things that are 25% bigger scale, market share, whatever. And I think we're like big M marketing, right? It is so strategic. What was the thing that you said when we had Kennesaw State in about the P's? Right.
Oh, how at some point marketing lost 3 of its P's and became nothing but promotion. And so the idea of product and pricing and placement or distribution really lost conversation in marketing. And it became all about where am I talking to you, right? Am I doing social? Am I doing emails? Am I doing landing pages? And
am I talking in the right channels, and am I listening in the right channels, rather than do people in the world that are stakeholders of what we do, internal, external, investor level, whatever, do they get what they need from us? Do they understand all the value that we could create?
And where are we relative to other people?
Yes.
And does what we're doing matter?
Yep.
Totally. Great. Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to just turn the conversation a little bit. You brought it up, or I brought it up about, the relationship between the two of you. And we always talk on the show about how our guests are building a great business together. So I would love to just tell the story of like, how did you end up with an intern 9 years ago who's now, an account executive for your company?
You want to talk about the stalking?
You make it sound so glorious.
It was great.
Well, no, I mean, this actually goes back to something that I really believe in. Is I think that it's really important for people in college to get involved outside of the university, outside of class, like get involved in the industry that you want to go into. And that's where I started. And that's where I met Moira, was volunteering for the American Marketing Association here in Atlanta. And, she made the mistake of walking up to me and gave me her business card and was like, I hear you have a job with us one day. And I was like, that was probably the worst thing you could have ever said to me. Because then I showed up with a stack of papers for my internship, all filled out, and all she had to do was sign. And I was like, and I can start Monday. And so it was just one of those things where I saw an opportunity and I jumped at it, and I knew nothing going into it. I honestly did not know what an agency did. I didn't really know what it was.
You didn't know how to format a business letter.
I didn't know how to format a business letter. There was so much that I didn't know, but it was an opportunity that presented itself, and I took a leap of faith, and I was just like, this seems great. And there was she had a lot of great energy that I fed off of. And so that was that.
I think the company was 2 years old at the time, if I'm doing the math correct.
Yeah. I mean, we were just right out of the gate. I mean, they had 8 people, 9 people, maybe.
I think it was 6.
Yeah, 6. Yeah. And here's the other thing. She didn't know anything. She was so interested in knowing everything. And that makes all the difference. In my early career, I had one of these crazy CEOs that let me have access to anything and let me try anything. And it made all the difference for me. And I feel very similarly. She and I shared an office for at least a year, I think. And so she just soaked everything up like a sponge, and, she got brought into executive level meetings with private equity companies in the middle of a purchase and a deal and figuring out if they had been, hoodwinked or if they actually had a good buy that they'd made. I mean, like, just there was nothing she couldn't have access to. But a lot of people have access to a lot of stuff and they don't pick up a damn thing, right? Or they don't write anything down, or they get out and say, yeah, I went to a meeting today, and she'd be like, oh my God, I got to meet with private equity people and I was exposed to how they assess a P&L. And then we talked about how their brand would move. And, I mean, it's a two-sided thing, right? You have to create a culture. I mean, here we're an employer. I'll talk about our employer brand. You have to create a culture that is high performance and really fun and great at what you do. But then the people that come into it have to be high performance, really good, and motivated in that way. You're not going to have a snack bar and, massage chair that comes in once a week and then have people get motivated around these things. And so, yes, you need certain things for everybody to be comfortable and love their environment and feel heard. But ultimately, you've got to focus on those performance things, and you've got to find people like Jennifer who are completely interested, right? Curious in the world. I mean, that's one of our core values is curiosity and enthusiasm. You take those two things, they have to be there. You can't teach people curiosity and enthusiasm. And so we're trying to hire people in Atlanta that have curiosity and enthusiasm and high performance. So, hey, find us. Yeah.
Call me. No, but I think it's true because, there is something about, I would not be where I am today. I would not have the skills that I do if I had gone anywhere else, simply because of the level of access that I was able to have at such a young time in my career, that I was able to see those things and ask questions about those things and observe them, that I connected the dots much, much faster than I think a lot of people do coming out.
Mm-hmm. And for me, this kind of harkens back to one of my kind of founding principles for the show, which is businesses are built one relationship at a time. You hear that often, but I don't hear a lot of people kind of teasing that apart to say, well, how do those relationships get formed? And it's, business is fundamentally an apprenticeship, which is what this is, right?
Yes. Yep.
So I'm wondering, like, when you met Jennifer, was it, like, did you actually have a sense, like, because you've met other people?
We knew it immediately.
Okay.
It was several of us. We were doing the American Marketing Association Amy Awards, and she was a volunteer for that awards day. And her energy, she came in, she was focused, she was working, she was funny. She just had a great energy about her. And afterwards, several of us said, that one is special. Did you see her? And that's who, be that in the world, people. Be that one is special person, right? Because, and all that takes is being fully engaged, fully present, being authentic. Again, you say, how do these relationships start one by one? And it is about authenticity and comfort. And it's the same in your business relationships, right? These great relationships you build with your peers or your coworker. I mean, I'm calling her my peer because, again, we collectively make this company happen every day. And it's the same with our key clients. I mean, you have to know who the person is. You have to trust who they are, and you have to care enough to find out what is important to them. And then you can start the rest of it. Then you can have an employment relationship. Then you can have a business, a client, agency relationship. It's the same thing that builds great brands, right? It's authenticity and clarity of why this is happening, right? And for people on the radio, I'm doing it. I'm showing people bonding. Do we have video? Yeah, no. But yeah, why people are bonding and coming together, so that's that.
Well, I was going to say, I think it goes back to the fundamental ideas. People want to be around those that they know, like, and trust, and all of that comes to life through the relationship. And so whether it's as an employer or employee or as an agency, we very much make an effort to get to know our clients because they work with us and they trust us and they are, really opening themselves to vulnerability for us to help them in the best way that we can. And so if you're not kind of coming to the table trying to be an advocate and be that person that they can know, like, and trust, then you're failing.
Well, one thing that I observed, which, and I would love for you to comment on this, is that sometimes power dynamics though can shift or distort how these relationships get formed, right? There's, at least in most places or in society, there's this assumption of disproportionate power, right? Between the employer and the employee, or even between clients and service providers. And that can actually sometimes make it wonky in terms of trying to build a trusting relationship. So how, what are your thoughts on that and how you negotiate that?
Yeah, I'm famously politically incorrect. And if there are people that are going to be so caught up in the hierarchy, and I'm talking about the senior people right now, that they have to be showing you that they're in power, in charge, superior, there's something wrong with them, right? There's already a chink in the armor or some vulnerability, or that, they've got imposter syndrome or something. And our goal is to get the hell away from those people as soon as we possibly can. And I feel like if you're dealing with a real person that's anchored in where they are in the world and they've risen up, they should want to give back to people. And I feel like in the relationships I talk to people I've talked to billionaires on Forbes. Do I talk to them like, oh my God, I'm talking to a billionaire? No. What do you have to share with the world? Tell me about it. And I feel like younger people should approach senior people in that way. Like, don't go in and just see what few facts they'll bother to give you. And then if you're a senior person that is not willing to give back to younger people, or who has become so self-absorbed in their position, get out of yourself, because you're going to be out to pasture before long anyway. Share the good parts of what you know.
And so one of the things that you mentioned in, when we were preparing, was around some of your kind of community involvement and community engagement, which I think kind of goes to this really great culture. Tell us about that.
So how perfect. I'm wearing my shirt today. I've got my I'm a do-gooder shirt on. So 9 years ago, again, something about the magic number 9 today. 9 years ago, we started the Do-Gooder program, and once a quarter, we take the whole company to do volunteer work, and the employees choose the missions-focused causes that are important to them, and then we go do the work that is important to the collective. And we were recently featured on 11 Alive. They have a program called The Extra Mile that's a part of Go Beyond Profit, which is really focused on how do you give back? How do you get more extended?
I was just talking with Megan last night.
Yes.
Or yesterday.
So we were just featured on that. And one of the things that they liked about it was that we've been doing it for 9 years, right? It's over the long haul. So I think we've donated over 3,000 hours of volunteer time. It's probably, in excess of $500,000 worth of effort that we took from a small business, and, we're able to make big ripples in the community. And it's just important. It's what you need to do. And I think one of the things that I like the most in that program, because, I never know what I've said till after I've said it. And then I go, that was a good thing to say. Talking about the fact that it's critical, no matter what's going on in the market, when you set up a program like this, that you follow through with it, and the fact that, were there times that it was inconvenient to do that? Yes. And in terms of our clients, we tell them when we're going to do this as if it's important, and I mean, yes, there have been a couple of times over 9 years where a few people had to work and had to miss out. But for the most part, we say to our clients, we're going to do really important work today. And we're going to be doing this do-gooder, and we're not available to you till, whenever the next time is. And they love that. I mean, we don't have clients push back. They think it's great that we're doing that.
And I think there's the kind of the give back side of things. And then I think on the flip side of the community involvement too, is also just getting involved professionally, and even not professionally, right? So we have several people who serve on different boards in industries that have nothing to do with marketing at all. But from my perspective, what I think is really important about that is it gives them access to diversity of thought and new perspectives that they can then bring back to our clients in terms of how do you approach problems, how do you solve problems, and how do you kind of talk through and question kind of where you're going. And so we have, people who sit on boards of nonprofits and, different education organizations and all of that. And so I think that is also just as important as the give back side of things.
Well, I think a question that comes up for me, which I was actually talking with Megan, who's the executive director of Go Beyond Profit for listeners, is being starting to quantify the the value
Mhm.
of doing this kind of work.
Mhm.
Something that I've been working on, actually developing a model for how to
Mhm.
quantify that this actually does have a meaningful positive financial impact
Yep.
on companies. And
Mhm.
so I'm wondering if you were going to take a stab at, locating where on your P&L this is
Mhm.
benefiting you. And I know that you're not doing it for that, but
Mhm.
part of what I want to do is to show that this is really a financial imperative, that companies that behave this way
Yeah.
actually perform better.
The only place I would put it on our P&L right now, and again, that's not where our motive is with it, but I absolutely feel that the employee retention that we have is driven by that. And, people, if you're a new manager or you've just only hired a few people or had to let a few people go, you have no idea how much it costs to find people, keep people, train people, all of that. And
It's
so
excruciating.
it's excruciating, and it's one of those invisible costs you never quite realize till you have enough scale that you're like, oh my God, we really do spend that and that and that when you add it up. And so for us, I think that the bonds that our community work has been able to create, and the meaning, right? So our people stay here because they get to have meaningful things both in the professional arena and out in the world without having to go do something else, right? They get the opportunity to have a meaningful connection to the community while in their job, right? And so I feel like that from my standpoint, that's where that goes. Certainly we have clients that are interested in community-minded people. There are a lot of people that focus on, corporate responsibility, but we don't try to overly focus on quantifying, but there's no question that it pays huge dividends in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. So as we close out the show, what are some of the new and exciting things that you want to share with our listeners about what's happening at Modo Modo? When is your Give Back Day? You have any? I know that you mentioned a couple of awards that you're up for.
Yeah.
Any new article in Forbes?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share?
Yeah. No, what's new and exciting is we are hiring. We are hiring rapidly.
Yeah.
And we're looking for a variety of people in the account management function, from AE level up to director level. We are looking for seasoned B2B copywriters, and a lot of people think about writers as freelance people. We want people that actually want to be a part of a community, a family, and grow with us. We've got developers that we need to add. So we just continue to expand. We want to find those people. So if you are listening to this and really quality, again, curious, enthusiastic, smart people, we know you're out there. And we want to find 100 of you. We want to be 100 Modo Modoers. So
wonderful.
So that's what I'm thinking about.
All right. So if people hear this and they want to call up either Jennifer or Moira to say I'm your person, how do they do that? How do they get in touch with you?
So I'm Moira at modomodoagency.com, and I'm on Twitter at Moira Vetter, and we're at Modo Modo Agency on Twitter.
Yeah, and then I'm close at modomodoagency.com.
Very good. And listeners, you've been listening to CEO Exclusive. I'm your host, Soyini Koch, and I hope you have a prosperous, productive, and very profitable week. Thanks.
This show is brought to you by Anona Enterprises, where strategy is your access to money and performance. Learn more at AnonaEnterprises.com.